Good morning, students. Last week we learnt the Nazi state of Hitler. Today we are going to learn about anti-colonial movements and decolonization process in Asia. French Indochina, rise of anti-colonization. Indochina has shown its discontent right from the beginning of the first occupation, while Indo-Chinese resisted the imposition of French language and culture. They learned from the ideas of revolution. During the First World War, about 1 lakh Indo-Chinese fought in France and returned with first-hand knowledge of how the French had fought and suffered during the war. The emergence of Viet Minh, the mainstream political party in Indochina, was the Vietnam Nationalist Party. Vietnam Nationalist Party is a political party in Indochina formed in 1927. It was formed in 1927. It was composed of wealthy and middle class section of the population. It was formed by middle and wealthy people. In 1929, the Vietnamese soldiers mutinied and there was a failed to attempt the assassinate of French Governor General. This was followed by a large-scale peasant revolt led by the communists. The revolt was called as followed by what is called White Terror. Thousands of rebels were killed. White Terror incident was led by communists. Many thousands of rebellions were killed in this incident. Ho Chi Minh was born in Tonkin. When Ho Chi Minh was 21, he went to Europe. After working as a cook in a London hotel, he went to Paris. In Paris Peace Conference, he lobbied for the independence of Vietnam. His articles in newspaper and especially the pamphlet French Colonialism in Trial made him well known as Vietnam nationalist. In 1921, he became a founder member of French Communist Party. 2 years later, he went to Moscow and learned revolutionary techniques then. In 1925, he founded Revolutionary Youth Movement. White Terror, Ho Chi Minh left for Moscow and spent the 1930 in Moscow and China. When France was defeated by Germany in 1940. France was defeated by Germany in 1940. Ho Chi Minh and his lieutenants used this turn of events to advance of Vietnamese cause. In 1941, they organized the League for the Independence of Vietnam. In 1941, Vietnam independence was formed. Next one is Diarchy province. The decolonization process started in India from the beginning of 20th century. From the beginning of 20th century, decolonization process was started in India. The Swadeshi movement in 1905. 1905 Swadeshi movement was started. The outbreak of the First World War brought the political and economic change. In 1919, the Government of India Act was introduced. For 1919, Government of India Act was introduced. Diarchy and the subject. The Indian National Congress rejected the diarchy. The Indian National Congress rejected the diarchy. Next one is lack of measures to industrialize India. Despite the discrimination protection given to certain select industries such as sugar, cement and chemicals, there was no change in colonial economic policy. In colonial economic policy, there was no change in Indian commodities. Next one is support was only in the form of providing technical advice, education and pioneer factories and new industries. This policy was abandoned by the British. Next one is impact on depression on Indian agriculture. The Great Depression also affected Indian agriculture. Great Depression in 1929 also affected the Indian agriculture and manufacture sector. Manufacture sector also affected by the Great Depression in terms of prices on agriculture commodities and obligation of the farmers to state doubled. The price was doubled. So the great fall in price, the prices were very fall to demand the protection for the internal economy. Internal economy was affected by the Great Depression. In 1930, the Indian National Congress started the mass movement. Mass movement was started by Indian National Congress. Next one is the Government of India Act of 1935. This act provided for greater power to the local governments and introduction of direct election in India. Government of India Act in 1935, introduction of direct election to the people. Next one, 1937, the Congress won great victory in most of the provinces. In 1937 election, the Congress won most great victory in provinces. However, the decision of Britain was involved in Second World War without the consulting the Congress ministries. So, they are forced to resign from the office. Colonization in Africa. The African coastline had been explored in the 16th century and few European settlements had come out. But the interior of Africa was unknown to the outside world until the last quarter of 19th century. European colonization began after about 1875. The Berlin Congress of 1984 to 85 resolved that Africa should be divided into sphere of influence of various colonial powers. This was the war between the British and the Boers in South Africa. However, the defense of the resolution. Boers War. The relations between the two British colonies of Natal and Cape Colony and the two independent Boer states of Transvaal and Orange Free States had long been unfriendly. The discovery of gold in Transvaal in 1880 led to large number of British miners settling in and around Johannesburg. In Johannesburg, many British miners were settling in Transvaal. Fearing attacks from the British, the Boers armed themselves and decided to attack. The Boer War lasted for 3 years. The Boer War lasted for 3 years from 1899 to 1902. 1899 to 1902. Initially, the Boers were successful, and in relation, the British destroyed the farms and crops. They set up the internment camps for Boer women and children. Shortage of food, medical and sanitary facilities caused the death of 26,000 people. 26,000 people were died in Boers War. Next, in 1907, full responsible government was given to the Transvaal and the Orange Free State. In 1907, full responsible was given to these two states. The four states formed into Union, and the South Africa Act passed by the British Parliament in 1909. In 1909, British Parliament passed the African Act. Next one, the Union of South Africa came into being in May 1910. Thank you, students.